Gaming with Boomers! Yeah. Welcome back, Boomer family, to a very special episode of Gaming with Boomers. This is an episode that we had been intending to record since the inception of our channel a year ago. It actually doesn't have anything to do with gaming. It is a video about our feral kitties. We, aside from selected family and friends, most people don't know that we adopt and raise feral cats. And a feral cat is a non-domesticated cat, a stray, generally speaking, although there are domesticated cats who have been abandoned. In fact, that's how we started, was with abandoned cats. But the reason we're making this is because there is a myth out there that feral cats are impossible to adopt, and the best solution to them is to have them destroyed. People also do horrendous things like shoot them, poison them, run them over with cars deliberately, do other horrendous things. Animal control will catch them, and at the worst, take them to a kill shelter where they are immediately put to sleep, great euphemism, because they're considered unadoptable. And in that condition and under those circumstances, I agree. They are unadoptable. They are terrorized, terrified, and will never trust a human again. So, that is the solution there. There are communities, God bless them, who also capture strays and spay or neuter them, and then tick an ear, put a little clip, like a little cut in the ear, and then release them to show that they have been captured and fixed. That's a solution to overcrowded shelters. But it's also kind of a non-solution. I find that better than just taking them and killing them, and certainly better than the general public being horrible to them. People do terrible, terrible things to cats, and which is another reason you should probably not let your cat roam outside your home, other than the fact that they decimate the bird population, which is a whole nother subject. This topic is way too long for one video. With this first one, we're just going to give you an introduction as to how we began adopting and raising feral kitties, to give you a background so that you're confident that we know what we're speaking of which we speak. We know of which we speak. We know what we're doing. We have been adopting and raising feral cats for about nearly 15 years. So, from kittens to grown, raising them from kittens to grown, and adopting grown ferals and taking them in. So it is possible. It is if you're an animal lover, especially a cat lover, it is one of the best things you could ever do. But there are very, very special circumstances and needs of feral cats. And if you're considering this, there's certain things that we believe you should absolutely have in place and be willing to do and sacrifice if you're going to take in a feral cat. And so a lot of people are like, why would I do that? Why would I want the extra bother of dealing with this poor terrified animal that, has probably got all sorts of things wrong with it? And if you're like us, where you just adore animals more than people, generally speaking, not everybody, and you see that these poor animals are suffering because people are under the false impression that because cats are predators, that they live very fun-free, carefree lives outdoors. And, they're wild and it's wonderful. And, if you just leave them alone, they'll be fine. It's not true. Feral cats do not have a good life. They don't live even half as long as domesticated animals. They are they're predators, but they are also prey because they are way down on the food chain. The stray kitties in our area most often are eaten by coyotes, die of disease, injuries, and we're not talking like they get flattened by a car and they're instantly dead. they get clipped and they suffer. It's just a horrible life. It's a horrible life. So what happened for us, how we began this, is we had a cat. We live in Macon, Georgia, and we moved here from Beale Air Force Base in Northern California when Ken got out of the Air Force. And this is 17 years ago. We had a cat for many years before we left, and he ran off. And even though we looked for him for the month that he was gone, the last month that we were there, he ran off a month before, we looked for him literally every day, even as we were driving off base to drive to Macon. Never found him, and it was just heartbreaking. We did have other pets over time, but Ken is a absolute card-carrying, die-hard, to his core cat lover. And he's a big 6'2" Texan. Big guy, really big guy. And he has a soft spot for kitties. That's the only thing you'll ever catch him cuddling and going do over is his kitties. So having another cat was going to happen. And when we moved to our development, it's a very small development, and it was right at the height of the housing bubble in 2006. And many people in the next few years lost their homes in our development. And so about half our development was empty in really sad circumstances. And the people, when they left, would take their dogs and other pets, but they would abandon their cats. And I suppose they figure it's difficult to move with a pet. We know. We moved with our dog Cinderella, who was a black lab. And you're already in financial difficulty. I get it. So they figure with cats, you just let them out and they can fend for themselves. But that is just not true. And so we started seeing abandoned kitties in our development. And we saw that for a while, and we started to put food and water out for them. First, we had an abandoned domesticated cat, mama cat. We didn't know she was a mama until we took her in. She kept coming to our door, and then Ken took her around to all the neighbors to see if she would belong to anyone. She didn't, so we took her in. It was Christmas. And a couple weeks later only actually, he was petting her and said, something just kicked me. So Emmy, we named her Emmy, was pregnant with kittens, and so she had a litter. But that's not a feral cat. Emmy had been owned by someone, and we had several cats we took in who had been previously owned. And now the feral situation, in particular, there was a black mama cat, and she, you could tell, had never been owned. You couldn't get anywhere near her. We would see her wandering the neighborhood, leading a line of kittens when they were old enough, and she would lead them through. And then we saw her a couple times, and then we didn't again, and we didn't see those kittens. Then, a few months later, we'd see her again with a new litter of kittens. And when we saw that second litter, Ken and I were like, we got to do something about this. Little tiny baby kittens, they're going to get eaten by the coyotes. They're going to have diseases and die. And you could tell that they were starving. There was nothing enough for them to eat. No clean water. So Ken put out food and clean water on our bottom deck in our backyard. And Mama started showing up. We named her Wicked because she was all black, with her kittens. And that litter grew. We couldn't get near them. If you went out there, they would run. They wouldn't go real far, though. They trusted us enough to know that our house was a safe place that gave them food and water, and that we weren't chasing them or yelling at them. And so Wicked started trusting us a little more, and she would sort of come a little near, but she couldn't pet her. Then that litter disappeared, and we believe that, there were two left from that litter, 2 females who ended up pregnant. And one had a litter whose kittens she ended up bringing her kittens, so Wicked's grand kittens, to our deck to feed once they were weaned off milk. And we ended up adopting some of those kittens. It's a very sad story, and I don't have enough time right now to tell you the stories of each of the kitties, but I will, because you're going to want to hear this. They're just so amazing. So basically what it was is we saw that Wicked was just going to continue to produce litters. She was being accosted by all of the neighborhood male cats. Some were owned and they were just let out at night and they weren't fixed. So they were chasing her down, and she was pregnant just one litter after another. And we thought, this has got to stop. And so we adopted several of her kittens who were then grown. They're kittens. One of them came in pregnant, and that's a whole nother story. But now, to this day, we have in our house, and have had for years now, about, 10 years or more, 12 years, we have had Wicked and her last litter of 5 kittens living in our house, along with other ferals. If you're wondering, how many cats do you have? We have many. We have many. And when we have had many, several of them have passed because feral cats come with their own health issues. And so sadly, we've lost more than a few over the years due to the most common disease is stomatitis. It's an inflammatory disease, and basically they get this. Every cat kind of has it dormant in them, but in ferals it's triggered really often, and especially groups of cats. And basically they waste away. They get sores in their mouths and on their skin, and then they lose a ton of weight and die. It's a horrible death. It's not quick. It's expensive, but at least they spent their time with us and we got them vet care. So if you want to know how many cats we have fostered over the years, more than you can count on 2 hands twice over. We have, and all of them are feral aside from 2. I'll tell you about those. And 2 that we got from a facility, PetSmart actually, because I'll tell you about that, but they were going to be split up and we couldn't stand the thought of that. And the others were abandoned, domesticated babies that were approachable immediately. So, but 90% of our kitties have been feral, wild stray cats, or born of strays in our house. I've been the kitty midwife, and there's a reason we kept them. We're not animal hoarders in the least. The shelters here, the problem is that the shelters here are absolutely chock-a-block full, to the point where one of them had to shut down because the conditions were so poor, because they were so overwhelmed. And cats here are not coveted, dogs are, and so people don't want to keep them. The shelters also here do not accept, and this is via the vet and vet techs that we've talked to, the shelters don't want to take, and people don't want to take, black cats or cats with any black in them down here. There's a lot of superstition down here about black cats, and so either they are not adoptable, so you just can't find a home for them, or they are adopted and terrible things are done to them ritualistically. It's awful. So basically we ended up with so many, even the ones that were born in our house and were very much domesticated because, we had them from literal birth, because there just aren't enough people who want cats. And so, in fact, we have people coming to us weekly saying, I've got this kitten, I don't know what to do with it, or I found this kitten, and we just have to stop. Every one of our kitties we adopted, we believe was brought from God, and we honestly believe that. So in any case, let me get to, before this gets any longer, let me get to sort of the parameters of, if you're going to want to, the yeses and nos of deciding on adopting and or fostering, whatever, a feral. And number 1, you have to be an absolute animal and cat lover, like adore them beyond belief, because this is going to try you. We are beyond cat lovers, and had birthed kittens, litters of kittens before this, had experience and all of that, and it was a challenge. And it's and you're gonna have to want to put the kittens the cats before a lot of your own wants, because that's just the way it's going to be, because of their special needs. 2, and this is super important, you have to have the space. Now, feral cats are not domesticated cats, and even domesticated cats, when you bring them into your home the first time, and especially true with ferals, you need to give them their own space, some room in your home that you can put them into that's, like a spare room or even the bathroom or something for a little while, so that they can have their own space and get used to your home and the sights and the smells and the sounds, especially if you have other animals or children. And that's going to take a while, depending on the cat, how long it's going to take before you can, let them out of that room and have them start getting used to other areas. But with ferals, it's especially important because they are terrified, they're traumatized, and it's going to take them 3 times as long to acclimate. And once you let them out of that space, you have to be willing to share the rest of your home within reason. You can shut off some rooms. But if you have a small apartment or a very small house, or you have a decent sized house, but you don't intend to let this cat be anywhere but one little area, like maybe that one room and a hallway, there's going to be problems for you and the cat, because especially a feral cat, because they're going to be really tweaky for a long time and they need an escape. And that is the biggest thing. Why our situation worked, one big reason is we have a good sized house, and we are very fortunate. Macon, Georgia, housing prices are really good, always have been, and so we got more house for our money than we would have nearly anywhere else. And we were willing to give over nearly every room to them. We cut them off from certain bedrooms and the kitchen, and other spaces like that, but they have most of the house to roost in. And because we have so many, no one is able to corner anybody else. That just doesn't happen. There's too many places for them to go and escape, and they have their own little areas, and they have buddies, and they have their territories, and we never have cat fights. We have little arguments here and there. Well, someone will go row, and it's just one time, and someone has sniffed someone's butt one too many times. Generally speaking, that's about it. Or someone was playing and the other one said, "I'm done playing." But we do not have cat fights, and you would imagine that we would. And the space is why. You have to have fairly deep pockets. I'm going to come out just right out front and tell you that. You have to be willing to spend money to get these kitties acclimated and then keep them healthy. Any pet is going to cost you money if you're doing it correctly. They need vet care and food and meds and toys and just things. And for ferals, more often than not, and all of ours came in with fleas. Well, we didn't want fleas in our house or amongst the others, so every time we brought a new one in, we had to treat them for fleas. Everybody for fleas. You got one flea, it's going to jump on everybody and procreate. And then we had to deflea whatever area we had kept them in while they acclimated. And for our house not to have one flea after we got everybody in there and treated, we are so proud of that. We bought a steam cleaner, and that's how we managed. So lots and lots of expensive flea medication, and because a collar isn't going to work. It's not going to be a collar. It's going to be, we use the drops that you give them. There are ones on the neck, but there's also oral meds that you can give them that are even better. So we had to dose everybody every time we brought somebody home. There's spaying and neutering. Again, absolutely 5 stars of what you have to do. Every cat's instinct is to procreate, and they start really young, and they keep going after a litter is weaned. So you have to get these animals spayed and neutered. Even if you don't keep them, get them spayed or neutered. There are a lot of programs where they will do it for free in communities, larger communities. Ours did not have that, but we did have what we call our country vet. He does a lot of veterinarian work for local farmers and ranchers, and they had a program where if you brought in a stray, they would actually anything. It doesn't have to be a stray, domestic, whatever. They did all their spaying and neutering for half price, and so we always brought our strays to that vet because our regular vet wouldn't even accept strays. They're just too much to handle. So, and then there's, capturing them. We had there's like a trap that we trap them in with, that we have to rent from the veterinarian, the country vet, to get them, to capture them, and then, take them to the vet, get them fixed, bring them home, the whole thing. It's just, and there's immunizations, and then if they get sick, which they're gonna, or they get injured, which they're gonna. So if you're not willing to spend money on your babies, then just don't do it, because you're gonna suffer, they're gonna suffer. It's gonna be stress nobody wants or needs. Now in our situation, and because we have so many, and so many of them carried stomatitis, we have always kind of lived poor. We live poor. Ken makes really good money, but our money is spent on rescuing and raising these babies and our 2 kids who are now grown, Michael and Austin. But we don't have hobbies. We didn't go out to dinner. We didn't go on vacations. We didn't have expensive clothes. We didn't have the latest car. Our cars are always 10 years old, at least. I have clothes that I've had for 15 years and I still wear. Even our furniture, when we needed new furniture, we just plain got rid of it, because we know until we're done adopting and raising these kitties, it's just the furniture was gonna just suffer, so we didn't get new. And we sort of let our main living area be the kitty playground. Now that's our choice, and nobody probably else is ever gonna do it. Basically, our home on the inside is a shelter, a kitty shelter. But again, people aren't gonna do what we did, where we take in literally every stray in the neighborhood. I can tell you that the stray problem in our development was single-handedly halted by our family. And it's not to pat ourselves on the back, it's to show you that if we hadn't done this, the stray cat situation in our area by now would have spread miles and miles, and there'd be sick pets everywhere because people let their pets out. The coyote problem and bears, we have bears around here, would be huge because there's so much food source, just everything. And the shelters are too crowded. There's no place to put them, nothing to do. So we couldn't stand it. We couldn't stand the thought of these poor babies who hadn't done nothing to anybody, and were so full of love. We just, so we took them in. So our home is on the inside of shelter. We don't have people over. Therefore, we don't go to people's houses because we can't reciprocate. It's bare like a shelter. We got rid of the carpet in our house, other than a few rooms. Like the living room is bare. It is cat trees and a bench and scratching posts and a fountain for the cats, and that's it. And we blockaded off the kitchen, so you can't get in and out. They can't get in and out of there. Our dining room is also a cat area. One of the bedrooms upstairs is for the cats, the cat bedroom. And we've done this, and it's cut us off from socializing in a lot of ways. Well, our choice was, do we get rid of these babies who are like our babies? I mean, you love your pet, we love ours just as much, every one of them. And when it came time where a couple of them had litters and we had to keep the kittens, there was nothing we could do other than send them to a shelter. How do you scoop up little kittens and say, okay, we're taking you off to die now? Or, you're adoptable, but you're not. It's just terrible. So we ended up keeping them. So we are an unfunded shelter. All of our money, literally all of our money other than necessities, go towards saving these babies. And we haven't brought a new kitty in several years. Once we had our main group, it wouldn't be fair to bring another one in, because this is basically an established colony, and that it would be difficult. We could do it, but it would be difficult. So what I'm saying is once you get past the initial really difficult period of acclimating a feral cat, they're just as loving and wonderful as a domesticated cat is. Having said that, you do need to keep in mind they are feral in their very nature. And so they may never trust you completely. They may never be a lap cat. We have several of our ferals who don't want to be petted at all. They'll come near us and they'll come near you, but if you go to pet them, like you come at them, they run for the hills. You can pet them sometimes and they purr and fluff up, and oh my gosh, it's the best day ever when that happens. But you respect that, and cats are like that anyway. You can adopt a domesticated cat and it won't be a lap cat. Cats are cats. That's the great thing about cats. They're going to do what they want to do. And we have ferals that are all over us. They're lap cats and back cats and cuddle cats. So you just can't tell. Coming up, we're going to go ahead and do some more videos on some of the individual stories. This is sort of a esoteric, dry, this is what you do if you're going to raise a feral cat. But just to let you know that we do know what we're talking about. We have, again, done this for close to 15 years. We have midwifed several litters. We have taken in strays and abandoned cats in every situation you could possibly imagine. We've nursed cats, lost cats. We have a little kitty burial ground in the back. If anyone ever buys this house and digs up the yard for a garden, they're going to freak out. There's a whole bunch of cat carcasses, plus a black lab, and 3 hamsters, a chipmunk. So I will leave it here for now, and I will post some videos with our kitties' stories, because a lot of them are really fascinating. All of them will break your heart to a degree, but all of them have a happy ending. Even the ones that we lost lived because we committed to this, because we said we'll be uncomfortable. Yeah, we'll live a little more frugally. We'll give of ourselves without getting, a whole bunch of money back or whatever. These cats that otherwise would have led terrified lives and awful, horrible, miserable deaths. We know that they lived good, even if they were short. They lived good, happy, loved, well taken care of lives. And so that makes it worth it for us. I'd much rather do that than play golf or water ski or, go on some expensive vacation. And, I'd much rather foster these babies and go on a cruise. So I will leave it here. Thank you for joining us. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and all of that. But also tell us about your babies. Doesn't have to be cats. Dogs, hamsters, snakes, lizards, possums, whatever you've got. We love every creature, every single. I like bugs. I do. I don't let any spider in our house be killed. Not one. I name them and then we let them go out in the yard. So whatever your story is, we all in this family would love to hear it, because your babies are our babies, because we're a family, all of us. And we love that you're part of our family. So thank you for joining us. I'm sorry if you came on here for gaming and it wasn't a gaming video, but we appreciate you more than you'll ever know. You, along with our babies, are what makes our more frugal life worth it. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you very soon. Love you. Bye.